What is going on, everyone? We are back with a brand new series here on the channel, My Pokemon Teams Kanto Edition. That's right, boys. We are back and we are going to be trying to incorporate features from my life, from the anime, from the games, incorporate them all into a nice little story that we can kind of say is how my Kanto story would play out. Not everything is going to be crazy competitive, obviously in some regions, obviously in this region in particular, I'm a new trainer, right? So for me anyways, like, I'm not worried about having the most competitive team, the most balanced team, the best move sets. Like, none of that really matters a ton. This is sort of kind of what I think a move set would be kind of in real life as well, thinking about the fact that, like, not every Pokemon can only use ranged attacks. Like, sometimes you have to have a move that's in close, sometimes you need to have a status move, and so those things will all be incorporated in. But I hope you guys enjoy this series. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe if you haven't already. This is a different style of video for me, and so any feedback at all is super appreciated. So I hope you enjoy. Sit back, relax, and let us start here in Vermilion City. Alright, so here in Vermilion City, this is my starting city in my opinion. This is the only port city this is the main port city in Kanto, and I also live in a port city in my country as well. And so this seems like a natural place to start. The other really cool thing is the anime has some canon things in here that will allow for some more interesting story arcs. We have Professor Cersei, who was in the Pokemon Journeys anime as a professor who was also giving people their first Pokemon. We have the Evolution Center, which researches evolutions and how they evolve and interact with the world around them. We have schools, we have public schools, both for Pokemon, people who have Pokemon and people who have no interest in having Pokemon. And so it's a really nice blend of the real world and the anime world kind of combining together into a really cool atmosphere. But our story is gonna start, Chloe tells all of her friends in school that Professor Cersei is going to be giving away first Pokemon. And so we need to absolutely get there and go meet this man, because we need to get ourselves a starter Pokemon. And the laboratory is a little bit outside the city, a little bit on the outskirts, which is great because, it's a nice, there's forest, there's a little pond there, right? All the starters can kind of vibe out, relax, and if you ever get a bunch of Pokemon, you'll be able to have Pokemon running around here, and they'll be able to do research on them, right? It's a big research center. But we're here for the starters. And of course, the three starters in Kanto are Charmander, Bulbasaur, and Squirtle. Charmander is really, really interesting. It's a little bit of a handful to take care of. It's literally like a toddler. It likes to grab at things. It's a little bit clumsy. And the biggest thing about that is that if its fire on its tail ever goes out, it can die. So you need to be really, really careful with water around this Pokemon. Also, it's just very clumsy in general, and so its tail, whips around, hits your couch and lights your couch on fire. Like, that's a problem, right? So, and where I happen to live, it rains a lot, and so I don't think Charmander is the realistic starter choice for me, unfortunately. I do love me a Charizard, don't get me wrong, it isn't anything personal, but thinking about it from the most logical sense, I just can't pick Charmander in the region that I live. I live in an apartment, you know what I mean? Like, it's just not, I don't have the open space for a Pokemon with an open flame on its body to just run around. Then you have Squirtle, and Squirtle I thought was going to be the natural choice for me. I thought, I live in a coastal city, like I just said. I have access to fresh water. I have access to salt water. Squirtle will be able to gulp all the water it wants and shoot those nasty hydro pumps, you know what I mean? And that's actually a thing with Squirtle. Squirtle can only use water moves until it runs out of the amount of water that it has drank. So when you run out of water in that little Squirtle's tummy, you no longer can use water moves. And so that's a really big important factor. You need to be around the water all the time for Squirtle to be able to function, or it needs to drink a lot of water that isn't going to hurt the environment or something like that. And that is a bit of a challenge at times. Squirtle also eats a ton of fish. And I'm not gonna lie to you, fish are more friends than food to me. I don't really eat sushi. I don't really even like fish and chips that much. Like, it really is tough. And so for me to have a Pokemon that I would literally just be feeding it pounds and pounds of fish all day, I think I would go nuts. I think I would go a little bit nuts. I'm not gonna lie to you. So the easy choice for me is Bulbasaur, the mascot of the channel, or the baby form of the mascot of the channel. Bulbasaur is a really interesting choice, and the reason that I choose Bulbasaur here is because of a variety of things. One, it's a short, tiny little frog with a plant on its back. You know what I mean? It's 2 feet tall. It's 15 pounds. You know, as a starter trainer, I think it's really important to be able to know that you can have physical control of the Pokemon if it ever got carried away. Now, Bulbasaur is a very docile, tame, and pretty loyal Pokemon. I don't think it would go rampant, but as a beginning trainer, you want to be careful about that. You want to be able to know that you have control over your pet, right? It's no different than me with Luna, right? If I took Luna for a walk and I knew that I couldn't control her, I'd have to keep her on a leash. But because I know that she listens to me, I can take her off leash and go to a park. You know what I mean? So it's no different for me with Pokemon, in my opinion. At least when you're starting out and you're not familiar with it, you know, maybe a smaller pet or a smaller Pokemon is the way to go for you. And so for me, it's important to know the history of the Pokemon as well, how it functions, and you'll kind of learn more about the Pokemon. So if you look in the overview here, the Bulbasaurs are born without the plants on their back. Their mother has to actually plant the seed into the back. The plant actually forms a relationship with the host and merges its DNA with the host into its spinal cord, into its brain, and is able to allow the Bulbasaur to use the abilities of the plant. This is going to mean that when the plant is absorbing energy, Bulbasaur is able to absorb energy as well. And so that kind of actually means that Bulbasaur doesn't need food to survive, which is huge. It's also then able to use grass type moves like Razor Leaf, like Poison Powder, which is a bit of a defensive mechanism for a plant. When something happens, right, it's going to give off an aroma so it doesn't get eaten, or like deters things from eating it, or different things like that. And so it's important to know that, because it's important to know how its natural moveset will function. And the really cool thing here is that, like I said, Bulbasaur can live entirely off photosynthesis, but it does have the ability to eat leaves and berries for sustenance as well, which is really cool, because it means that I don't have to go buy Pokemon food, which saves me a lot of upfront money and right away. In the games, poison types are unable to get poisoned, which is also really cool, and so I never have to buy antidotes at the beginning of the game or beginning of my story, and that's also really cool. And like I said, I live in an area where, you know, sunny days are nice and sunny. You know, it's windy here, so like clouds don't stay forever, so it does get plenty of sunlight. And in the winter, it does snow, but Bulbasaur is a small enough plant that you can bring it inside, right? You can have that little Bulbasaur inside, chilling up, maxing out, relaxing. You can just chill by the windowsill and, you know, give him water and he's good to go, right? So for me, it was a really easy choice. And the other big thing with Bulbasaur, and this is actually kind of unique for plant types, most of them don't do well with pollution at all. And Bulbasaur actually kind of does, because of its part poison typing. And so it's actually able to be in an urban environment, no problem whatsoever. The only real things you need to kind of worry about is, you know, the pollen and the aromas that it can give. Some people are allergic to them, you know, but, you know, reactant or whatever can solve that issue for you. And I already live in an area where, you know, bug types bugs are rampant, so it doesn't really bother me that it has a fragrance that could just attract bugs, you know, whatever. So now that we have our starter, Professor Cersei is going to give us some tasks. Number one, he wants us to meet Professor Oak. Professor Oak is going to give us the Pokedex. Professor Oak is going to give us our kind of guide to the Pokemon League, because he's trained, because he's been the mentor of famous Pokemon trainers like Red, Blue, you know, a number of Pokemon trainers. And so it's important that we go see him. We get a Pokedex of our own. You know, Cersei's providing us with a Pokemon, but, you know, Professor Oak is obviously providing us with a little bit more information. The other big thing is that Professor Cersei wants us to go to the Eevee Evolution Lab, because there is some things that maybe we can learn, and maybe an opportunity to maybe get ourselves an Eevee as well. And that's a really big thing, because having a second Pokemon to start your journey with is also really, really nice. And so we make our way over to the Evolution Lab, where we meet Finnery. Now, Finnery does give away Eevees to trainers as well. And, you know, we get there, we see she has a ton of Eevees. You know, she has a ton of Espeons, Umbreons, Vaporeons, Jolteon, all of them, right? She has all of them. She's researching all of them. And she actually gives us one of the Eevee. She actually says, hey, this Eevee like really isn't evolving here just with the stone on its own. It might need to be in a certain environment a little bit more specific for it to evolve, and so will you take it with you? And of course we're gonna take that Eevee. That Eevee is a cute little, look at this thing, cute as shit. But of course Eevee is another kind of smaller, you know, kind of like fox Pokemon. It's a little bit finicky to raise at times, but overall is a pretty easy Pokemon to raise. Its DNA is extremely unstable. This is the Pokedex description. It mutates easily, and so it can easily adapt its body to nearly any environment. This is kind of what Finnery was saying, where like, hey, like if you bring your Eevee into the forest, it might evolve into a Leafeon just by being around plants a lot more, or it'll evolve into the water if you go down to the coast, or like whatever, right? And so we need to kind of bring this Eevee around and see what environment we can use a stone on. And so the other big thing is that Finnery is actually going to give us the 3 evolutionary stones. She doesn't really care what it evolves into. She just wants to see this Eevee thrive in the way that it wants to thrive. And so a little bit more research notes just real quick. You know, all the evolution lines are omnivores. So, you know, pretty easy. They all catch, you know, little things. And so it's pretty easy, and plus Pokemon food is also a thing. Eevees are, you know, basically lab bred at this point, and so they're all very, very used to living with humans, and they're not really that aggressive. They're pretty docile, they're pretty chill, and that actually goes with the vibe of Bulbasaur very, very nicely. And so what we're gonna do now is head up to Route 6. You know, we're making our way down to Pallet, and so we need to head up to Cerulean City, cut across Mount Moon, down Pewter City, all the way to Pallet Town to meet Oak. But Route 6 is our first route. We've never actually left the city before, and we are now making our way onto Route 6. And of course, in the Pokemon Let's Go games, you are able to get Vulpix here. And for those of you who know, Vulpix is my favorite Cantonian Pokemon. And it's just one of my favorite Pokemon in general, and so it's very, very natural that I would want to pick this little boy up, or girl. You never know. But Vulpix is, you know, another short little Pokemon. You know, we have, you know, 2 little fox Pokemon that can kind of play together and all that stuff. Vulpix is again a 2-foot tall little fox Pokemon with Flash Fire and Drought, and that's a really big thing because that pairs really well with Bulbasaur and Chlorophyll. It also has fire immunity, which also really boosts Bulbasaur's ability to kind of function as well, because you're just completely taking away a weakness and then giving it Drought so that you can actually be able to have the sunlight up, and then you can utilize Chlorophyll really, really nicely. And Vulpix are born with only a single white tail. As they mature, their tails split to turn into shades of vermilion. Which is also a really cool little story as to why it's around Vermilion City in Pokemon Let's Go. The Eternal Flame actually keeps going forever. It keeps its whole body warm. So when we're traveling, if we ever have a cold night, we just chill with a little Vulpix, and we're gonna be nice and warm, nice and toasty. You know, and Vulpix are actually known for ghost type moves as well. And you know, they have a lot of lore behind them that I'm sure we'll get into a little bit later. But also here in Route 6, in the anime, there is also Vermilion Forest. Now, this is the first forest that we're going to encounter. And of course, in any forest, you're going to get a lot of bug Pokemon, you're going to get some bird Pokemon. And we're going to catch the basic bird, the starter bird that most people go for, Pidgey. Now, Pidgey is another very easy Pokemon to raise, and there is a good reason why a lot of Pokemon try to raise it. We actually have to use Vulpix here to catch this Pidgey, because Pidgeys actually try to hunt Vulpix sometimes, and so we actually did a little bait and switch, right? Get the Vulpix out there, get the Pidgey to come out, and just throw the ball, chuck it back, secure it. And of course, this another short little bird Pokemon. They're very docile. They prefer to avoid confrontation, and so really, I just had to chuck the Pokeball when I got it. And they are a little bit more timid side, so they use Sand Attack, they use Whirlwind. But they're very, very good hunters. They're very, very good navigation Pokemon. And I think it's really, really important to have flying types in when you're traveling, because it gives you eyes, right? If you ever get lost, I have the ability to just be like, hey, yo, Pidgey, come out. You tell me where I am. You know, how far away am I from here? You know, where am I? Like, where's a route? And it can lead me out of where I am. And so I really, really like the idea of having flying types. And yeah, so Pidgeys are, you know, they're very little threat to trainers. Some of them will go and you know, migrate, but a lot of them are urbanized, and so they're Pokemon that I could have in the city, they're Pokemon that I could have in the wild. Doesn't really matter. They're pretty chill and pretty easy to raise, right? Get some bird feed, get some, you know, get some more Pokemon food, you're all good to go. And that also forms a nice little core, right? I really like having ground Pokemon. I really like having flying Pokemon. I really like having something that, you know, can kind of function in the different areas of your potential battlefields, right? But we make our way here to Cerulean City, getting out of the forest. And of course, we are here for one reason and one reason only. We would like to challenge Misty on our way here. You know, we don't need Professor Oak, we don't need nobody. We're just gonna go in and smack up Misty real quick. Now, Misty, admittedly, I think is gonna be a pretty easy gym. You know, we have Bulbasaur ready to go, and Bulbasaur should be able to take out all the water Pokemon, no problem whatsoever. But the really cool thing happens. In the middle of the battle, our Bulbasaur evolves into Ivysaur. Now, Ivysaur is, you know, a little bit bigger, 3 feet tall instead of 1 foot tall. And he is a lot more powerful. He's able to use Solar Beam. He's able to kind of do different things. And, you know, still pretty chill, but, you know, obviously, you can evolve Bulbasaur pretty easy. You know, most people evolve their starter Pokemon at or by the first gym in the games. And so it made sense that, you know, I'm in against a super effective gym. You know, Missy's gonna not use her second badge team when I don't have a badge at all. And so it just made a ton of sense for this to evolve now. But Misty is actually super, super hyped that she got to see an evolution. And so she sees our Eevee and she goes, oh, hey, like, I know Lana. Yeah, Lana. And, you know, she also had an Eevee, and it'd be really, really cool to see a Vaporeon. And so what she actually suggests is that we actually just hang out with Misty for the day. Hang out with their water Pokemon, you know, get to do different things, and let the Eevee just kind of play with the other Pokemon, play in the water, and see if the Water Stone is going to be what actually makes this little Eevee evolve. And sure enough, by the end of the day, we have ourselves a Vaporeon. And Vaporeon is the water type that I am hoping for as well, because Vaporeon is one of the only water types in the region that function both in salt water and in fresh water. Now, it obviously prefers fresh water, but the ability to be perfectly fine in salt water allows me to kind of travel the region a little bit, right? When we get to Fuchsia City, we have to get to Cinnabar, or whether we go from Pallet Town to Cinnabar, right? The ability to surf is a big deal. The ability to like kind of ride on this Vaporeon is massive, and that it will be safe being in those waters. Now, Vaporeon is about the same size as Ivysaur. It has water absorb and hydration, so we actually fully are able to heal ourselves with water. And of course, Eevees who are exposed to a water stone will evolve into Vaporeon. Their fish-like tails have been tied to mermaid myths, but like I said, they can swim in both saltwater and freshwater. And the really, really cool thing is that they can actually, like, basically, like, because they're Eevees, they can basically change their molecular structure and, like, basically turn into water and then reappear in a physical form later, which is so fucking cool. So cool to me. And so that's a really, really cool dynamic, right? Being able to use acid armor, melting into the water, and then just showing up somewhere else, and then being like, hydro pump, bam, gone, right? Like, that's so, so cool. And so for me, I was just as hyped as Misty about this, to be 100% honest with you. Vaporeon was a really, really cool choice. You know, we now have fire, water, grass, and flying. I love that typing combination. You know, those are like the 4 core typings when you're starting a new journey. And that's really, really huge. And of course, after that, you know, we hang out with Misty for a little bit longer, and then she sends us off, and we make our trip over to Pewter City. And Brock, who I think now that we have a Vaporeon and an Ivysaur, should also have no problem whatsoever. And we make it here to Pewter City. You know, it takes a couple days for us to get here. You know, we go through Mount Moon, you know, we do some leveling. We kind of understand that, like, that Vulpix and Pidgey are kind of newer. They haven't been with us. And so we needed to be able to kind of do some training with them. We do that because kind of on our way. And we get here and we take on Brock. Now, Brock here is, you know, literally baby food. We actually haven't really been able to use Vaporeon very much training in the caves and everything. And so we just decided we're going to go off of Vaporeon in this gym. And Vaporeon just basically one-shots everything. There's not even really a challenge. You know, we obviously saw Onix have no ability to take on Pikachu with the sprinklers going off. And so you have a water type coming at him, and there's nothing that they can do, right? So, but Brock is also very interested in our Vulpix. You know, he has one himself, and he actually gives us some pointers on how to train and breed and do like grooming care for Vulpix, because we're newbies. Like, we're not really brushing the Vulpix correctly. Vulpix get mad at us when we're trying to groom it. And so Brock here is really, really helpful. He helps us out. And he says, you know what? We're going to cook you guys a meal as well before we send you off. You gotta go to Pallet Town. We're going to cook for you before we send you off. You know, maybe the warmth will really help Vulpix. And he actually finds out that we have a Firestone because of Finnery, who gave us all of the stones. And so after a nice meal, you know, Brock's famous cooking, Vulpix evolves into Ninetales with the Firestone. And obviously we're super stoked about it, you know. And Vulpix, you know, evolving into Ninetales, you know, another 3-foot tall little fox Pokemon. You know, we're doing really, really well here. And of course, Flash Fire Drought, you know, same as Vulpix. But the thing about Ninetales is much more able to use psychic abilities and ghost abilities. And so we have a really, really cool moveset. I'll explain it, kind of the movesets at the end. But Vulpix can understand human speech. You know, it has the ability to, like, hypnosis, you know, and all this other things. Ninetales and Vulpix are just really, really cool. They have really cool backstories. You know, pause the video if you ever want to see any of these descriptions at all. But of course, Brock is here crying, sending us off. You know, he gets to see the evolution. He gets to hang out, you know, make a new friend. And, you know, he wishes us our very best as we head to Pallet Town and we get to Professor Oak's laboratory. You know, it's a long time coming. It took us a couple more days. We had to go through Viridian Forest. We had to, you know, we walked past Viridian City. You know, wasn't much going on there. And, you know, Professor Oak is here. He's kind of explaining to us, though, that a lot of the gym leaders are actually away right now. And that's kind of sucky, but it halts our journey a little bit for now. Lieutenant Surge and Sabrina have both traveling to the Unova region because of the Pokemon World Tournament, and they have been actually asked to represent the Kanto region. You know, Lieutenant Surge obviously being the Vermilion City gym leader, it kind of sucks, but we can wait. We can go back home. We can wait for Vermilion City. But yeah, Sabrina being gone is a little bit unfortunate. Koga and Janine ROA training, as Koga has accepted the position into the Elite Four and now has to train his daughter far, far away somewhere to go and learn how to be a true ninja and take over his legacy as the 5th gym leader. Blaine here is having a rough go of things. The Pokemon League has actually said that his gym is no longer safe for people to go to, and he must build a new gym. And so the bottom right corner is actually the new redesign for Cinnabar Island. You know, the actual active volcano battling in the volcano itself is, the Pokemon League said it wasn't safe, and so he has to do renovations, so his gym is permanently closed at the moment. And last but not least, Blue, his Professor Oak's grandson, he is still waiting for the paperwork. There was some very, very shady, unfortunate shit happening at the Viridian gym with Giovanni and Mewtwo, really, really hurting the gym reputation. So Blue is currently waiting for approval to be able to even run the gym in the way that he sees fit. And so for right now, as you can see, almost none of the gyms are available to challenge right now. And I mean, we're a really new trainer. We don't really have the experience behind us. Our Pokemon have evolved, but 2 of them are Stone evolutions, and the other one just evolves really, really early. And so we look a little bit stronger than what we really are at the moment. And so, you know, maybe it's a blessing in disguise. But Professor Oak does tell us that Erica is still available. She is currently the strongest gym leader left in the region that is willing to battle trainers, but she does come with some rules. She will give us a badge. However, she has banned the use of fire types in this gym. The reason being is that she says that every time that fire type trainers have come through, she has to basically replant her entire gym and leaves her gym out of commission for months before she can accept another challenge. And so, Professor Oak actually wants to travel to Vermilion City and see Professor Cersei anyways. And so he actually offers us a ride. He actually offers us a ride to Celadon City on the way. So we hop in the back of Professor Oak's car and we get to travel with Professor Oak. We get to talk the shit. You know, we get to learn more about Pokemon. You know, he gets to meet the Pokemon that we have on our team and, you know, kind of gets to tell us more information about the Pokemon and how to raise them, you know, and different things like that. We make it to the beautiful Celadon City, you know, a very, very busy city, you know, busier than, honestly, I would say busier than Vermilion City to some degree. It's kind of like the main hub. You know, we have the big department store where you can get anything and everything, but we're here for one focus. Professor Oak's not gonna chill with us and hang out until we get this gym badge. And we end up taking on Erica. Now with Erica, we decide that we're gonna lead off with Pidgey because Pidgey is gonna be able to do what it wants to do with grass types. You know, nothing crazy, but we are a little bit under leveled for this gym because at this point, Pidgey should have already been a Pidgeotto, taking on the 4th gym leader. And so Erica's holding no holds bar, but we have to fight all of her beginner trainers before, and we actually end up getting a Pidgeotto in the process. And Pidgeotto is a lot braver than Pidgey, a lot stronger, and is able to do a lot more other things. And so we end up just taking on Erica. It ends up being a breeze anyways. We don't really have any problems. But of course she wants to just kind of hang out, see her Bulbasaur at the end of it. You know, obviously she congratulates us on beating the gym. And then of course she doesn't know what's going on afterwards. So, but like I was saying, Pidgeotto is a lot braver, avoids not shy away from confrontation anymore. It's a 3-foot tall bird. So all the Pokemon that we currently have are 3 feet tall. So, you know, we get a little bit braver in terms of height for Pokemon, but we're still not really there. We're still not really a fully seasoned trainer yet. And so we actually end our story here with 3 badges waiting to be able to go to and fight Lieutenant Surge, to fight Janine, we wait for Sabrina to come back with Lieutenant Surge. Blaine's probably out of commission for years, and who knows how long Blue's gonna take. But that doesn't really deter us because Professor Oak actually tells us that, you know what, despite the fact that, you know, you might not be able to do anything now, look how far your team's come already. And you still have a lot to learn. And so, you know, we look at this and, you know, this team is pretty cool, right? Pretty cool. I love this little team. This little team feels like a team that I would personally have for sure. And let's just go over the movesets real quick of what I think it would have. I think Ivysaur here is going to have Leech Seed. Recovery moves are always really, really useful. Razor Leaf is a nice physical attack. You know, you literally just sharp leaves get lashed out at the Pokemon. Poison Powder is defensive mechanism move. I never really wanted to get rid of something that it kind of uses naturally. And it's just a nice deterrent, right? You kind of Poison Powder something, and then with Leech Seed, and you kind of get like double chip damage, and then you can kind of go for like, you can kind of store up for the Solar Beam or whatever. And if we have a double battle where we get to use Ninetales as well, Solar Beams are just popping off left, right, and center. And so Ivysaur, I really love this moveset. It's a very natural moveset for this Pokemon. And there's nothing really that I had to like teach. This is just all stuff that it learned naturally. Vaporeon actually learned Aurora Beam. Aurora Beam is a nice little ice type attack, and it has a cool little effect where it actually kind of looks like a rainbow when it's like going through, and it kind of represents all the evolutions a little bit. And so I kind of thought that was really cool. And so you can kind of see the multi type culture in Eevee that allows it to use Aurora Beam. Aqua Ring I thought was really cool because it has hydration and water absorb, and it can kind of just, you know, mold water around it. You know, gives it a protective veil that kind of gives it HP back every turn, and kind of allows it to kind of have like a shield around it. Kind of like Aquaman, to be honest with you. Like, it's kind of wild. Acid Armor, like I was saying, the ability to just absorb it, like literally deconstruct into the water and then reappear. You know, that is some Kisame shit off of Naruto, you know what I mean? Like, that's wild to me. And then Hydro Pump is obviously just a very, very strong water type attack that Vaporeon's able to use. And I think this is a really cool natural moveset as well. It's a very, very unique moveset. It allows, if I have a fast Vaporeon, I'm able to kind of, you know, really, really do some damage. The next Pokemon, Ninetales. Ninetales, I think, again, I'm going with a natural moveset on this. We're gonna go Will-O-Wisp. You know, Vulpix are known for Will-O-Wisp. The Will-O-Wisp are supposed to kind of look like souls, you know what I mean, because of the ghost kind of element to it. And so Will-O-Wisp is very natural. It does have the ability to learn ghost type moves, and Hex is one of those moves. And then obviously Hex does double damage when there's a status ailment, and if you can burn it, I mean, that's double damage on a Hex, and Hex is pretty strong. Extrasensory is another really cool move. You know, they have the ability to kind of manipulate people when they stare into their eyes, their glowing eyes, and so Extrasensory is a really cool one. You know, it can kind of mentally mess with a Pokemon. And then Flamethrower. And the reason that this moveset works so well is that, you know, you can use Extrasensory to make it kind of stay away from you, and then you can kind of Will-O-Wisp and Hex and Flamethrower and do what you need to do for the damage. Very, very natural moveset for me for Ninetales. It looks really, really good to me. And the last one, Pidgeotto. Pidgeotto has Quick Attack and Aerial Ace, two kind of physical moves where you kind of like with speed get into the Pokemon's face, hit it hard. You know, so I could see like, you know, diving down, hitting the Pokemon with a tackle or quick attack kind of deal, but it's just Aerial Ace, quick attack, so you have two stabs in that. And then when you want to keep your distance, air slash, right, you just shoot those arms away, you know, get a slash of air that like knocks people back. And then because Pidgeottos and Pidgeys and stuff, you know, they kind of use Sand Attack at first to kind of disorient your opponent. Hurricane is just a damaging, much stronger version of that. And so for me, this is the moveset that we have for our team. It's a very, very cool moveset. It's a very realistic moveset, I think. I think you have physical moves, you have special moves, and so you're kind of able to adapt to in-close battling and kind of ranged battling. But the story doesn't end here. Obviously, we will be back with my Johto edition. You know, I don't know how I'm going to totally play this series out just yet. I don't know if it's going to be like, I'm going to upload this every week or every month or whatever. I haven't figured all that out just yet, but you might even see Pokemon return, right? I might not have 6 Pokemon in the Johto region that I want to use, and so I might actually go with a whole new team. I might bring Pokemon back and they evolve. You never know, right? So, but with that, that is my, this is my Kanto team. Jesus, I can't even talk anymore. This is a long video for me, but that is our Kanto edition of my Pokemon team. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you guys kind of know what your kind of team would be, I would love to hear it in the comment section down below. Let me know what you guys thought of this video. Like I said, this is a different video for me. I actually one took the whole thing, so maybe it might not be that different from what I do, but you know, thanks everyone for watching. I know this is a 35-minute video, so thanks everyone for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one.